Today is Thursday, October 10th. Good morning from the Civic Media News Desk. I'm Joanne Krulotz. Changes are coming to how the National Weather Service forecast wind chills. WAOW meteorologist Justin Lowe says the National Weather Service wanted to make things simpler for people to understand.
They've surveyed the public, and they said, do you understand what this alert means and what that alert means? And most of the public says, no, we really don't know the difference. So that's why they embarked on this multi-year plan to simplify their alerts.
Lowe says they're getting rid of wind chill watches, advisories, and warnings.
They're switching over to something called extreme cold. So it doesn't matter if it's 30 below zero, just the temperature, or if the wind chill is 30 below zero. Either or, they're going to issue an extreme cold warning.
The National Weather Service issues an extreme cold warning when temperatures reach 30 below within a 12 to 36-hour span. A bicyclist was fatally injured Tuesday night in the township of Fairfield. At approximately 5:10, the Sauk County Dispatch Center was notified of a hit-and-run crash involving an SUV and a bicyclist on Levy Road near North Hain Road. It was reported that the bicyclist was thrown from the bicycle into the ditch and that the SUV continued east on Levy Road toward the Columbia County line. A second bicyclist that was on scene called 911 and began CPR. Life-saving measures were conducted by paramedics from Baraboo Fire and EMS, but they were ultimately unsuccessful, and the bicyclist, Kristen M. Harding, 61 of Baraboo, was pronounced dead at the scene. With assistance from the Columbia County Sheriff's Office, the suspect vehicle and operator were located on Tritz Road in Columbia County at approximately 6:45 Tuesday night. The operator of the vehicle has been identified as Taurine M. Johnson-Putman, 31 of rural Baraboo. Johnson-Putman was arrested for hit and run involving death, homicide by negligent operation of a vehicle, operating without a valid license and causing death of another person, operating a motor vehicle without insurance, and failure to notify police of an accident. Johnson-Putman was transported to the Sauk County Jail and turned over to custody of jail staff. It's time to get your annual flu and COVID shots. Dr. Jim Conway from UW Health says especially with COVID, it's not enough to have a previous vaccine or illness. He says the viruses keep mutating into different variants, so you have to be ready for the new versions of the illness. Dr. Conway says this year's flu shot will only cover 3 strains of the flu, since one entire strain of influenza was eradicated while people stayed home during COVID-19. Senator Tammy Baldwin made a visit to Fall Creek Monday looking to connect with more rural voters. Senator Baldwin said it's important to connect with farmers around the state ahead of the election so she can learn more about the challenges they're facing and find solutions for the farm bill that benefit them. Specifically, Senator Baldwin noted that she wanted to increase funding for the Dairy Business Innovation Act and create more legislation to protect farmers who struggle during times of extreme weather, droughts, and flooding. People all over Wisconsin are turning up the pressure to hold the mayor of Wausau accountable for moving the city's only absentee ballot drop box last month. There was a protest at City Hall Tuesday night. The box is back, but critics say the public's trust is broken. Nick Ramos heads the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
The train already left the station at that point. Like, you already created this chilling effect amongst people where they don't even feel comfortable putting their ballot into the same box that maybe their tax bill or water bill might go into.
Ramos spoke with Civic Media's Chad Holmes. The Wisconsin Justice Department is looking into whether Mayor Doug Dinney broke the law. College students are bucking old trends for lower voter turnout. There was a 14 percentage point jump from 2016 to 2020. Young voters say they are motivated by issues like the environment, reproductive rights, and gun safety.
In spite of all that kind of dysfunction, they're being compelled to vote by a lot of issues they've also grown up around. This is the generation that grew up with mass shootings in schools. So we've been seeing significant numbers of 18 to 24-year-olds now voting in not only presidential elections, but in midterms.
John Marcus reports on higher education for the Hetchinger Report. The nation's unique electoral college system for electing a president, which replaces the popular vote, puts disproportionate voting power in the hands of a relative few states. It also ensures that the majority of campaign dollars and attention from the presidential candidates goes to those states. The lack of attention leaves voters in much of the country feeling as if they and the issues they care about have been sidelined. An Associated Press analysis shows that 3/4 of the more than 200 presidential campaign stops so far have been to the 7 battleground states, and that they have been concentrated in counties with 22.7 million registered voters. That's just 10% of all voters registered nationally for this year's presidential election. Justices on the Wisconsin Supreme Court say that Governor Tony Evers' creative use of his expansive veto power in an attempt to lock in a school funding increase for 400 years appeared to be extreme and crazy. But they question Wednesday whether and how the governor's veto powers should be reined in. Justice Jill Karofsky says it feels like the stratosphere is the limit when it comes to the governor's veto powers. The case is supported by the Republican-controlled legislature. It is the latest flashpoint in a decades-long fight over just how broad Wisconsin governor's partial veto powers should be. 23 projects will build a more resilient and prosperous future for people living and operating businesses in rural Wisconsin. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, Rural Development Wisconsin State Director Julie Lassa has announced that the department is investing nearly $93 million through the Rural Energy for America, or REAP, and the Powering Affordable Clean Energy, or PACE programs in rural communities to lower energy costs and create jobs in Wisconsin. Through the REAP program, $1.3 million in USDA rural development grants will bolster the efforts of 21 rural Wisconsin businesses to adapt or expand clean energy use. Among the REAP projects announced are several solar arrays, high-efficiency LED lighting, a wind turbine, and a grain drying system in Outagamie, Trimpolo, and Oneida counties. Additionally, USDA is investing $91.5 million through the PACE program for solar photovoltaic generation at 2 sites in La Crosse County and 22 solar arrays in Dane County. In La Crosse County, Dairyland Power Cooperative plans to use a $15.6 million investment to finance the installation of 2 megawatts of solar photovoltaic generation at 2 sites, which will be connected to a 4 megawatt hour battery energy storage system in western Wisconsin. This is enough electricity to power up to 1,000 homes. In Dane County, Stag Moose Solar LLC plans to use $75.9 million investment to finance 22 ground-mounted solar arrays that will produce 62.75 megawatts of renewable energy in Iowa, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, which is enough electricity to power approximately 16,000 homes.